I got about an hour to kill. Um, I think I might have touched on some of this at one time in the past concerning car movies. Movies about cars, where the cars are the central figure of the movie. And I'm talking about this because last night I was channel surfing and I saw, Fast and Furious was on TBS. I forget what channel. The whole series, that whole franchise was a fucking joke as far as I'm concerned. There are some things that are just too far over the top that it's laughable. I know it's only a movie. I know that. You don't have to tell me. But some things it's like, come on, man. Be fucking serious. Something actually got by me. The first time I think I talked about this, I think it's if anyone knows anything about cars, you have any sort of background in racing yourself or you follow racing, you're familiar with things and you kind of know what it's about. You know what cars can do, you know what they cannot do. If you follow a particular series like say NASCAR, drag racing, NHRA, IMSA, IndyCar, Formula One, you follow those series, you know what happens during the course of a race. So when I say car movies, I'm talking about movies that pertain to specific types of racing. And you know what happens during the course of races, you know. But I had always mentioned, God damn it, how the fuck you get a mosquito in the winter? This motherfucker's pissing me off here. You're gonna die. Come on, that infamous scene, with Dom's Charger is up on a wheelie while the rear wheels have completely broken traction and they're smoking like a motherfucker. That's impossible, But there was one thing that kind of got by me, and I was reminded in the beginning of the movie, when Brian takes his lime green Eclipse to that big street race, they're all lined up. One guy's playing video games in his fucking car while they're waiting to start, Brian's racing along. I'll tell you, man, that was one fucking long quarter-mile pass. It went on for 5 fucking minutes, And all of a sudden, Brian's got a computer screen that pops up telling him when to hit the nitrous spot, Fucking ridiculous. Totally fucking ridiculous. But that movie started a whole trend. That's why we got all these fucking little, fucking rice burners, running around the city and shit with loud mufflers. And it started a whole craze. And 4-door imports, with turbos. And that started a craze, a trend. That seems to have died out, though. We still see a few around here in these parts, but that pretty much died out. Although it did linger for a while. But the one thing that kind of got by me, at the end, he blows up his engine, thing's fucking smoking like a motherfucker, and Dom walks over. Now me and the mad scientist gotta, fix all, the welds you blew on the intake and replace all the piston rings you fried. The engine's fucking trash, right? And it didn't fucking dawn on me. Right after that, when the cops show up, they're all scattering. He picks up Dom. Dom jumps in it. Thing's running fucking fine. He blew that fucking engine, but man, that thing's running fine after. Not smoking, no nothing. He's getting on it. The thing's moving along pretty good. You know what I'm saying? You ever notice that? For some reason, I didn't notice that the first time around. But when it comes to car movies, there are some that I think are pretty good. There are some that are totally ridiculous. Like, Days of Thunder, if you know anything about NASCAR, you get spun out in the infield, you end up being a lap down and you're at the back of the fucking pack if your car didn't get wrecked and you had to go back into the pits for repairs, And usually after that, they're changing your tires. You get a pit anyway, even if it's just, tires get flat spotted from spinning out and whatnot. You're at the back of the pack a lap down, but only in Days of Thunder could Tom Cruise be right back behind the leader next fucking lap, you know what I'm saying? Crew chiefs aren't sitting on the pit wall eating fucking snow cones, you know what I'm saying? It was totally fucking ridiculous for anyone that follows NASCAR. I'm not a big fan of NASCAR. To me, NASCAR stands for NASCAR, non-athletic sport centered around rednecks. And I hear NASCAR, their viewership has been falling badly over the years. Maybe they need to come up with a new gimmick. Maybe they could bring that digger, the fucking groundhog, a gopher that keeps popping up out of the fucking track. Maybe they could bring that back. Who the fuck knows? You know, that other movie, if you follow IndyCar, there's a scene that's fucking laughable. Stallone and Kip Pardue, that young kid. He played the quarterback in, remember the Titans, remember? Sunshine. He had the long hair. His father pulls up. That Army colonel with that nice, 66 dark maroon Stingray, ends up cutting his hair. He was in that. An up-and-coming IndyCar driver. Stallone was the old guy on his way out. They wanted Stallone to mentor him, to bring him in, to take his seat, when Stallone retired. Typical buddy movie, Formula movie. Formula movie, cocky, arrogant guy, doesn't like authority, butts heads with a authority figure. When Days of Thunder came out, a lot of people said it was Top Gun on wheels. Same fucking formula. Cocky, arrogant kid shows up, butts heads with an authority figure, boy meets girl, boy fucks girl, authority figure he butts heads with, they end up becoming buddies at the end. Same fucking formula, just he's in a plane and now he's in a fucking car. You know what I'm saying? Same theme, same formula. That happens a lot. That's not the only one. In IndyCar, and then they got a big race coming up in Vegas, and they're staying at some hotel, and they're promoting this race all week, so they got both of their cars in the hotel lobby, parked there for, people to see. They have a big fucking argument. They run down, they jump in their cars, start them up, and take off, and they're racing through the streets of Vegas. Now, if you know anything about Indy cars, they don't have an onboard starter. You plug in an electric starter. In that case, it's like how you start up a fuel car. They hook up the starter to the blower electric and turn the blower over, turn the crank, fire the thing up. IndyCar, they're plugging right into the back of the crankshaft in the back end of the car. They pop it right in the ass end, and that's how they fire that engine up. Those aren't turnkey. You can't just stop those things up and take off and drive. And I can think of a few others. But there were some car movies that were pretty good. Even though when they say based on a true story, exactly how much truth is in it, very little and very often none. Hot Like a Wheel, Barney Bedelia, the Shirley Muldowney story. Pretty good movie, very entertaining. But a lot of things were kind of skewed in that movie. They made her husband out to be a drunken idiot asshole. She's the one that was a real bitch. She was not a nice person. She used people for what she wanted. She used Connie Coletta to get a car. Cheated on her husband with Connie. Then she ended up cheating on Connie with Ron Tolbert, the crew chief. It was younger than her. And they say that she was not a nice person to be around. She would use anybody, for any personal self-gain for herself. She was never going to get in the seat of a real good fuel car had it not been for Connie Coletta. You know what I mean? But the movie was somewhat entertaining. I enjoyed it. There were others. Now, when I say car movies, I'm not talking about movies with cars were a central figure, but it didn't involve any series of racing that people could really relate to that had any knowledge of that particular series, like I mentioned, IndyCar, NASCAR. People will say, Gone in 60 Seconds, the first one, the Mustang. I never saw it, but I've heard it's better than the one with Nicolas Cage. Then again, I'm not big on Nicolas Cage. Anyway, so I did see that one. Didn't really care for it. And that Eleanor thing, there's no such thing as an Eleanor Shelby. That's just a made-for-movie, car-created name and a style with body aesthetics, But people told me, the first one was way better with that yellow Mustang in it, Yeah, the car was, a star of the movie, but the movie wasn't about any particular racing event or anything like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about Vanishing Point. What was his name? Kowalski or something? Barry Newman. I saw that movie. It was okay. The white Challenger, at the end, it hits that bulldozer, boom. I actually think I saw a video on here about that. At the end, it wasn't that Challenger that blew up. They used an old fucked up Chevy Nova that they blew up at the end. And they said how many Challengers were wrecked or how many they used. But that's not the movie about racing, A couple stand out that I think. There's another one too, Corvette Summer, with Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker. That Corvette high school project they put together, and then he's got to go find it. It got lost or shit. You know, uh, one movie that kind of flew under the radar, and these are oldies. I remember I was real young. There was a movie that was pretty good, Funny Car Summer. If you ever saw that, it follows, the whole summer event with funny car racing. And I don't remember too many details of it, but I remember it. I've said before, my all-time favorite. Very low-key, low budget, flew under the radar. Um, Unknown actors, well-known musicians. James Taylor. I met him a few times. He lives over on Martha's Vineyard, real cool guy. He's just Jimmy, real low-key, no big ego. Now, Jimmy Buffett, when he lived on fucking Martha's Vineyard, they couldn't wait for that motherfucker to leave the island. He was one arrogant, rude motherfucker, thought he owned the fucking place. Real asshole. But James Taylor's just Jimmy, regular guy. A regular local islander, as they're called. Real great guy. And Dennis Wilson, drummer for the Beach Boys. Two-lane blacktop. That's my favorite. I know it could be debatable with others, but to me, and I think it's because, I was involved in street racing and going to tracks on occasion, New England Dragway down in Englishtown several times. Being around the street scene, street racing here and there, both here in New Bedford, Industrial Park, over at Fall River, Old Airport Road. Being involved in it, in that culture, with guys street racing for money here and there, I think I could identify with it more. I saw a lot of realism in that movie that I could really relate to. I couldn't relate to anything in any of these other fucking movies, But it was, very little dialogue, not even really much of a plot to it. Guys that were just working their way across the country and, picking up match races here and there to make a few bucks along the way. I think there was something to it. They were going to end up somewhere. I forget, it's been a long time since I saw it. But I think that's the only car movie that I've ever seen. If you've seen others that I'm not aware of, please feel free to jump in and, type now or forever hold your peace. That's the only movie that I could really identify with. And I didn't need a lot of, fabricated drama, and outrageous things being done with cars that is impossible. You know what I mean? That 55 wasn't pulling wheel stands, smoking the tires, and blowing the welds on the intake and frying the piston rings and then driving off and it's fine right after that. You know what I mean? There was a lot of believability in that movie. For me, I think that's the all-time best one as far as realism. Any guy that, street race, drag raced here and there could really relate to. And I don't think there was anything in that movie that you could laugh at or say, come on, give me a fucking break, like you could in Fast and Furious, Days of Thunder, that Indy Cup. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion for what it's worth. So, I got to get going to the VTH in a bit. I got a few things to do before I leave. So, have a great day. Have fun. Stay safe. Why am I talking about this? I guess because I can. Right?